Christina is the founder and chair of the Free and Equals Elections Foundation and president of Free and Equal Incorporated, a nonpartisan, full-service ballot access consulting and petitioning firm that works with candidates from across the political spectrum and across the United States. Let's give Christina a hand.
Hello, it's so great. This is my first time in Arkansas, so thank you for having me, Mark and everybody. I've driven through it a couple times, but beautiful place. So I want to start with one of my favorite quotes, that is from our forefather, John Adams, who stated, "A division of the republic into two great parties is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil." While my expertise and focus has always been electoral reform, educating myself on the Federal Reserve has been an enlightening experience. Last night, I actually had the honor of listening in on an interview with Arkansas News Bureau. They were interviewing Dugan King, one of our first speakers, of course, the creator of alternative currency, the ARC dollar. I learned more about the cabal of international bankers that have been pulling the strings of politicians like puppets of our nation's money for almost 100 years. 100 years of an unconstitutional private entity causing global economic imbalances, war, price inflation, America's industrial economy going down, joblessness, the depletion of our nation's resources, the destruction of our currency, and a two-party system that fully supports the scam. And that's why I'm here today.
Yes.
Who am I? I'm kind of a new face, sitting next to Larry King a couple weeks ago, presidential debate. I am just a girl, 31 years of age, and I've been around politics since I was 11 years of age. My father is based out of Illinois. His name's Jim Tobin. He runs one of the largest taxpayer organizations in the United States. And my dad ran for office for governor back in '98 and was wrongfully knocked off the ballot. He got over 60,000 signatures. It was my firsthand experience of seeing the two-party system do what they could to keep a viable, great candidate off the ballot, my dad. So this was a really personal thing. And in Illinois, you have to get 25,000 signatures to get on the ballot, while it's only 5,000 for the Democrats and Republicans. And so he was knocked off the ballot, and 4 years later, I decided to go out and gather signatures, hold 5 clipboards at a time. I gathered over 5,000 signatures to get my dad on the ballot and led the efforts and got him on the ballot as lieutenant governor. And that was pretty cool. And overcoming the barriers, and the people had more voices and choices. And 2 years later, this independent, you may know him by the name of Ralph Nader, gave me a call on the phone. And I decided, I'm going to cross the political spectrum. I'm going to help get a candidate left-leaning, coming from a libertarian background, though I'm personally an independent. My dad even supported. He's like, go out there and support more voices and choices. So I did it, and long story short, I found firsthand what the two-party system does to keep candidates off the ballot. Full-time state employees were brought on board to successfully knock Ralph Nader off the ballot. And at that point, I personally sued the House Majority Leader, Michael Madigan, for using full-time state employees, taxpayers' dollars, to successfully keep choice off the ballot.
Okay. All right,
Of course, I lost the suit because the judicial system's flawed, because they're appointed by the D's and R's who are controlled by private interest money. So I decided after that I would move 10,000 miles away and live in Bali, Indonesia for about 4 years. Dan saya bisa berbicara bahasa Indonesia. My second language is Indonesian. And I started up a jewelry company, designer, and a couple of years later I came back stateside and worked for Ralph Nader nationally, his national ballot access coordinator. I oversaw all 50 states successfully getting them on the ballot in 45 states plus DC, gathering and managing over 500,000 signatures to get Ralph Nader off the ballot, on the ballot that is. So a year later, I sold my jewelry company to one of the top 2 jewelry designers in the United States, and I took that money to build free and equal elections, and here I am today. Years before the Federal Reserve Act was signed, the concentration of the two-party party started with the adoption of the Australian ballot in the late 19th century. This is one of the lifelines of the two-party stranglehold of the system. Then in 1974 was the Federal Election Campaign Act was introduced.
Yes.
Was an outright subsidy of the major parties. It places strict limits on campaigns' contributions, subsidizing the D's and R's,
Yes.
conventions, and filling the tills of the major party candidates. FEC further protected the two-party system. Well, I like to focus on more of how do we fix it. Here at Free and Equal
Yes.
Elections, what we are truly the grassroots organization that's here to unite the grassroots movement from across the political spectrum to reform the electoral system throughout the United States.
All right. All right.
How do we start off? Well, let's organize a debate. In 2008, after I worked as a national ballot access coordinator for Ralph Nader, I decided to, and 24 hours, literally, it was a day to put this together. At the Mayflower Institute, we had Ralph Nader and Chuck Baldwin, the Constitution Party. We held a debate. It aired live on C-SPAN 2 nationwide. It was the #1 viewed politically archived video of the 2008 season for C-SPAN. So, a couple weeks ago, it's actually a supporter that emailed me and said, I want to see a debate, and it just stemmed from there. And next thing you know, we hosted this debate moderated by Larry King. Larry King, we got over, some say millions of viewers, some say 10 million viewers. We were top 10 trending on Twitter. We changed not only the dialogue here in the United States, but worldwide. We had Al Jazeera to RT America. I had interviews with Swedish, Switzerland, Spain, Germany, the biggest newspaper in Iran, Israel, all these different media outlets from all around the world. And my favorite question asked at the presidential debates was about the Federal Reserve. All 4 candidates at our presidential debate agreed that the Federal Reserve must be audited at the very least, if not put an end to the Federal Reserve.
Hell yes!
One of our other big defeats, this was so much bigger than the November election because honestly I foresee Obama was going to win a long time ago. Our system is rigged, and I don't even think the Republican Party, there's a disconnect between parties and campaigns, I've learned being on the inside, and some arguably, and I believe them, the Republican Party intentionally falling short so they can come back and save the day in 2016 and government will still grow. Blame everything on the Democrats. This is how the parties work.
Yep.
But I didn't focus much on November. We defeated in Arizona one of the biggest threats of the electoral process ever, called Top 2. And it's actually trying to spread here in Arkansas. I spoke to the newspaper yesterday, and he's like, what do you think of Top 2? It's great, right? I said, no, it's the biggest threat to our electoral system and what it means. The money behind it's the Warren Buffett, the Rockefeller, the Rothschild. It means only the top 2 vote getters in the primary will be on the ballot for the general election. It's passed in California, Washington State. It's Louisiana-style politics they've had for over 30 years, in which only one incumbent has been knocked out of office. Fortunately, in Arizona, we united, held a panel discussion at the Goldwater Institute. It was facilitated by the president of the League of Women Voters, Barbara Klein, and we had the chair of the executive director of the Democratic Party sitting at the Goldwater Institute. He even commented, I can't believe I'm here. But, from the Republican, Libertarians, and Greens all coming together against the initiative, I was on the panel too. We defeated Top 2 by a 2-1 margin in Arizona. Top 121. I was actually election night at Adam's studio, co-hosting there, and he's like, what happened? Top 2. And it was just like the happiest moment. I'm such a dork of the year for me. And of course, we've helped, with Free and Equal and our sister company, Free and Equal Inc., we've helped gather well over 1 million signatures to get candidates across the spectrum on the ballot. Even Democrats, Republicans not controlled by private interest money, I've seen them wrongfully knocked off the ballot over and over again. Greens, Socialist Equality Party, Libertarians, and so on. So we have 2 major problems here, going back to the Federal Reserve. The private Federal Reserve, which prints debt-based money into oblivion and devalues our currency, and the politicians, puppets, who refuse to discuss solutions outside of their corporate sphere of influence. And I commend Mark Daniels for finding me. I had dozens of requests in the last couple weeks, and I couldn't even speak 2 days ago, and his persistence, and he just rubbed our whole team the right way, 100%, and always there. He never gave up, and here I am today, and Adam, and boy, we're definitely going to be working here even more with all these leaders. For Mark Daniels, positive energy, these leaders. I hope to be, we have a Free and Equal Caucus leaders spreading all around the country, and you know, Dugan, hearing him interview, and I've learned so much from him even more, and David Shido, I know I got that right, my last name.
Got it.
So with the founder of In the Fed, I look forward to working with him. And of course, you know, AdamKokesh, thank you so much for coming. Adam, so awesome of you. I look forward, man, we're hitting all 50 states next year, or at least 20 or 30, with all these leaders across the spectrum. So
57.
50 international, man. It's like, this is the beginning. I'm glad to be 31, so a lot of countries out there. So the resolution, okay, free and equal. I haven't announced this yet, and we're going to be doing it really in detail soon. We're opening a studio in LA. Number one.
That's a bit too easy.
We're going to have a network. It just literally happened the last couple weeks. We're going to have a reality show. I mean, this is like a ridiculously $20, $30, $60 million project. I can't even believe it. A reality show. Imagine having Ron and Ralph Nader and AdamKokesh and Jill Stein and, you know, the Liberty leaders here, state by state, going around with our tour, the Jordan Page, the Billy Corgans of Smashing Pumpkins, Soja, all these different bands, you know, that we're meeting here, and top to bottom to top is the way to do it. And in doing this, we're going to launch a national database. This database is going to list every single candidate running for office. Whether you're with a party, whether you're not with a party, it's going to show the private interest money in the electoral process. It's going to have honest media, honest organizations, everything honest, all together, all this resources at your fingertips, how to get on the ballot, what constitutional attorneys can you reach out if you're running as a libertarian, green, independent, and so on. We're going to be that all-purpose database and creating our own media. And in doing that, I'm quite confident that we're going to inspire lots of independents to run for office for the local races in 2014. Independents across the spectrum that say no in the Federal Reserve, you know, no to the Patriot Act, no to NDAA, no to SOFA, no to the drones, and so on. In 2016, we're going to take down the Commission on the Presidential Debates.
Hell yeah!
Most humble way we're doing it, because I've learned the money behind the Federal Reserve happens to be the money behind the Commission on the Presidential Debate.
You don't say.
Imagine that. So you have these elites that are putting in $40, $50, $60 million. Oh, they use the commission to influence the elections, to buy out and run ads for ABC, NBC, CBS, and in return, they sponsor them. They're run by the former chair of the Democratic and Republican Party, who are puppets to Rockefeller and Rothschild and the Morgans and all these elites. And I don't bear any ill will or negativity, believe it or not, towards the elite, towards Obama, towards Romney. I actually feel sad for them. I feel sorry for them, because if they weren't there, there would be somebody else to replace them. Rothschild, he's pretty old. Okay, he'll be replaced. It's the system we have to reform to fix this. And in order to end the Fed, we have to reform the electoral system. We need to unite across the spectrum to do this. So 2016, we will take the funding from our network, our PR, working together, building others. That's what Free and Equal's about. It's not about me. It's about all of you. It's about the organizations, about creating that dialogue and building others. We need to grow mentally, socially, physically, and spiritually in order to face the fiscal cliff and see through to a new, better life. And we will overcome the obstacles one at a time, each and every time. So I want to end on this note. It's a little different. I do foresee a huge, powerful, peaceful movement come the 2013-14 election, because that's what has to happen in order for us not to fall beyond the Great Depression into the Dark Ages. And we're going to do that because the youth will come out strong. The 18 to 28-year-olds, don't underestimate them. The debate, the Larry King debate, my favorite part. Can anybody guess my favorite part of that debate, Larry King? It was the end. There was a standing ovation for 3 minutes. Over 3 minutes of all these kids from colleges standing. It brought tears to my eyes even thinking about it right now. And they just stood there and they kept clapping and they didn't stop and they kept clapping, and that's what keeps me going no matter how difficult. On some days you're like, oh, it's a lot to overcome. It's those kids. They are going to come out in full force in 2014. They're going to be running for office. They're going to be getting active. Social networking, like Adam said, and others, and technology. We're going to shift the spectrum, the electoral reform, back to the origins of the Constitution.
Yes. Yeah.
Parties don't work. They don't. I've worked on the inside with the debates, the political campaigns. I've seen the disconnect between the Jill Stein campaign and parties. Gary Johnson and the party, the National Libertarian Party, didn't even acknowledge that Larry King was participating in a debate. I'm sorry, Gary Johnson, that is, was part of a debate moderated by Larry King. The National Libertarian Party is disconnected from the constituents. We need to bring the power back to the people, and we're going to do that with what we're doing. Honest concern for others is the key factor in improving our day-to-day lives. When you are warm-hearted, there is no room for anger, jealousy, or insecurity. A calm mind and self-confidence are the basis for happy and peaceful relations with each other. Healthy, happy families and a peaceful nation are dependent on warm-heartedness. The Dalai Lama. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to getting to know all of you. And I'll be back next year.
Oh shit, I'm 9 inches away from your crotch, and I'm feeling your penis.